What's up? It's George the Fragrance Apprentice. Welcome back to the Indie Spotlight. About a week ago, I talked about my top 5 favourite coffee scents. I think people might have misunderstood. I wasn't saying that those are the greatest coffee fragrances of all time. I have a limited coffee selection, if I'm honest. I don't really claim to be the biggest fan of coffee, but I do have a select amount of coffee fragrances which I think are the proverbial bee's knees. And one of them is this. This is Espresso Royale. This was the fragrance that really got me into coffee-orientated fragrances, and it was actually the fragrance that got me into coffee. Today I'm not having my Earl Grey tea, which I usually have. Today I'm having a coffee with a bit of honey and a bit of milk. That might not sound the most appealing. I know that people do prefer coffee usually black, but I'm not fully converted. Let's just say that. There are a good selection of coffee fragrances that I do actually like. And I have this idea that I'm going to tell you right now. I wonder what you think of it. You see, a lot of reviewers do themed weeks or themed months. I was thinking of doing a coffee week where I go to Amsterdam, which is probably the most famous place in the world for coffee shops because they're quite infamous, because they don't just sell coffee, but they also look very beautiful and very aesthetic. And I was thinking that we could do fragrances, different coffee fragrances in different coffee shops in Amsterdam, do 7 of those, release them all out in a week. Let me know what you think about that idea. But this was the one that started it all for me, Espresso Royale. It's very bombastic, it's very... it knows what it wants to be, let's just say that. It has a theme. It wants to be a coffee liqueur kind of scent. There's not many people in the world, I think, who would maybe necessarily think of that. But the gentleman from Sebastiane, the guy's name is Robert Elder, he came up with that, and I haven't actually smelt any of the other Sebastiane fragrances, but this was enough for me. They're actually quite hard to find, especially on indie scents now. I don't know quite what went on, but I remember at one point a lot of his scents were going off for a very low amount of money. So the top note on this is rum, and you do get a bit of an alcoholic type of smell, but it's just really as soon as you spray that on, I've had a lot of different reactions to this, by the way. Somebody even said that they smell Jägermeister. Not the Red Bull part, the actual Jägermeister. And I can see that because it's got a deftly harsh and full-bodied alcoholic spirit opening. And you could have Jägermeister, it could be rum, it could be Tia Marie. I've even got a little bit of Bailey's at times, but usually I'm talking, this is like a Black Russian in a way, and it just comes at you with that alcoholic and as it dries down, you get this beautiful coffee bean, like hard, like you've just opened the packet fresh coffee bean. It's mesmerizing. And I do see it being basically encompassing an atmosphere of a coffee shop in the middle of winter, in the middle of autumn, and somewhere like Amsterdam. For some reason, somewhere like New York or a more built-up city doesn't really fit. That just seems too cosmopolitan, that just seems too modern. This feels like a coffee shop that is out of time, or somewhere that's older, that's extraordinarily rustic, that's extremely homely, that has a lot of those smells. It isn't, perfectly manicured, or it isn't industrialized. It isn't like Starbucks or Costa Coffee or Cafe Nero. There's something about it. There's a more homemade element to it. There's a more lived in and breathed in atmosphere, and it has to be cold. I've always thought that it was like a very cold and beautiful day. And so, yeah, the first thing that would come to mind is Amsterdam. I still haven't officially done a review. This is just my spotlight on it. These are just my free-flowing thoughts on it. I would love nothing more. That is one of my fragrance goals, to do a full-on fragrance review of this, where I fully go into it in somewhere like a coffee shop in Amsterdam. but it's so vibrant and so unapologetic. I think that's one of the things I really love about it. It's just like, yo, we're doing this, you're coming with me. And the response that I've had from this has been just amazing. I do wear this occasionally, and it's funny because when it's on the skin, when I wear it, it does really dry down, it does calm itself down. It actually becomes something that I would argue to be quite pleasant, but you can still get negative reactions, you can still get bad reactions. It's one of those fragrances where you aren't really wearing this for anybody else, you're wearing this for yourself, and you just got to deal with it. And so that has a very, very beautiful element to it. So if that sounds lovely, if that sounds interesting, go and try and find yourself a sample. And this could be the gateway for you to find other mesmerizing fragrances and other mesmerizing scents that aren't just based on compliments, they aren't just based on trying to smell this or that. You know, they aren't the Dior Sauvages, they aren't the Bleu de Chanels, they aren't the more designery fragrances, which I do still love, and I obviously have quite a lot of them. But this is the pure art element. This is the fragrances can transport you to a different place at a different time, in a different atmosphere, and you can play with that, and you can really engage with that, and you can really give off a certain energy, a certain vibe, you know. And it does, I do ponder, I wonder what kind of a bloke I'm coming across when I wear this around people. Maybe I just come across as a coffee addict, I don't know. But it is something that does capture people's attention, for better or for worse. I'm still getting used to it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the In the Spotlight. If you like the sound of it, give it a sample. And also, to Robert Elder, you know, you left a lovely comment on the top 10 autumn 2016 video that I did. I hope that you're still around on YouTube. I hope that you're still making fragrances. I hope that you're still making sense, because your voice needs to be heard. This is fantastic, and I can't wait to try more of your fragrances. Cheers. I'm the Fragrance Express. I'm out.